Howdy YouTubers. Okay, so today I wanted to make this video on how to make a shader object like this, where it has all these subdivisions, and when I take it in Unity, when a object hits me, or if you hit an object per se, that it will shatter on contact and instantiate that destroyed object. So what you're seeing here is this object was actually made by our very own Sam Robinson in the video that you just seen previously. And before I shared this, I got permission from Sam, so she said it would be okay to share this. And you'll notice that she has a lot of different props that she's made, and she was also part of the Global Game Jam in North Carolina last weekend. So if you want to connect with her and like her stuff, I'm going to provide the link below, and you can hang out, talk to Sam, and get to know her. Okay, so back in Maya. So the way of doing this is you want to basically cut up the objects. So like if, let's say you're using a box or a sphere, you can actually use the multi-cut tool. But since I already have all these subdivisions, I don't want to do that anymore, because if I add more, it'll lower my frame rate inside of Unity when I instantiate. So to get started, let's go ahead and hide the eye. And basically what we're going to do is in edge mode, we want to detach, unselect, go to face mode, select again, and then separate. What this is going to do is it's going to give me all of my poly surfaces that I need, which is each individual section for the sphere. What I want to do is I want to center the pivot point now, so that way when I select each one, the pivot point is right there. It just helps with better selections inside of Unity in a way. Since we got that done, we just need to repeat that process on the eye. So edge mode, select, detach, unselect, face, and separate. Now with this, because it has more cuts into the eye, this is going to be okay for the frame rate of your performance, because this is how I have it set up in the game that we're making. And it basically, when I did last time, I cut up so many different pieces, and it basically took my frame rate from a very high to about a 2, which was not good. So what we need to do now is select both of these. We need to export, and in the FBX I named it as shattered because that's the model that we're naming it. I'm gonna hit yes and let this export out the geometry, and I'll meet you inside of Unity. Okay, so on Unity I'm using Unity 2018.3, and I have a simple scene. So I have a ground plane, camera, I have my folder set up. And what we need to do is drag in that model now. So you can do two different ways. You can do assets and import the model. What I like doing is usually lowering all my screens and taking my object and importing it in. Okay, now with that, I'm going to go ahead and need to make a new folder too. Name it textures, because what I want to do is I have these two that I made inside of Photoshop, and just want to drag them in so I can use them within this game project. Go in my materials. I'm going to go ahead and pause this, get this all set up, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, so got everything set up, have the character in the scene, and what we need to do is assign the materials now. So I have two different materials for the eyes and for the character. Now because these are poly surfaces and they're already cut up in a way, what I want to do is I have to select each one now and assign the eye texture. That way it will apply it to all. And because we want this to shatter, what we also need to do is add a Rigidbody and with gravity, and depending on the mass that you want, I'm going to set mine to 1. If you want to, you could always put it like a 10 or 100. It's just the more mass, the more it's going to push it down and not let it fly out. Now another issue that I will show now. So let's say I want to add a collider, and if I do a mesh collider, turn on this, go to my consoles, here we go. You'll notice that we get this physics issue, and the reason why is because of all of these poly surfaces with the mesh collider. It gives that error that I found out anyway. To fix that, all you have to do is just replace the mesh collider with the box collider. It's weird, I know, but it's the fix that I found, and I don't get that error afterwards. Now what I need to do is I need to do the same process for the character now. Apply the material. Smooth this. Yeah, the smoothness was way too much. And Rigidbody. Perfect. So with that all set up, I want to make sure I'm in the 000. Go to my prefabs folder and make a prefab out of this. Make it as an original, and then delete it from here because I don't want it anymore, or don't want to reference it until I instantiate the object. I'm going to go to my models folder again because what I want to do is make a version that is not breakable, which is this one here. Go ahead and pull you up, bring you over, and then with this, basically we just need to also add a rigid body, make sure gravity is on, and add a body. Actually with the orb, or we can use a sphere collider. And then with this we can use a box collider. Okay, excellent. Now the thing that we need is create another 3D object. Gonna make it a cube. Because essentially what I want to do is within this cube basically flattens the sphere. That's what's going to shatter the game object. I want to make sure trigger is on and make sure it also has a rigid body too. Perfect. Pull it over, and then what we need to do is add a tag, and I'm just going to call this cube, and we're going to reference that in the code soon. Alright, okay, in the scripts here we just need to go ahead and make a C#, call this destroy, and go ahead and open. Now we don't need the start or the update methods, so we can go ahead and delete those, but we do need to do a OnTriggerEnter, and then if other, if I can spell today, and this is where we're going to reference that cube now. And make sure that you spell this accordingly to how you do it in the tag section, otherwise your code will not work. Oh, and before we instantiate, we also need to do some variables. So public game object, call shadow object, now the reason why I'm calling both is the non-shadow object I'm gonna first do I'm going to set that to where it's false. And then afterwards, when I instantiate, I want to do the shattered object. Oh, and we also need to do a public transform and get to the non-shattered object too. Because what they'll do is when I instantiate, basically the shattered object will go to your transformed position to your non-shattered object. Hopefully that makes sense. And I can't spell today for some reason. And do it to its rotation. Excellent. So basically what it should do now is when the cube touches the shattered, or to the character that's in the scene, it will shatter. It'll basically turn off that game object, and then it'll bring the other one in shatter. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to place this code now on the object. Go to the prefabs, tell it that I want the shattered object, and then I want basically the non-shattered and the transform of the non-shattered. Excellent. Go ahead, bring in the camera. For some reason it's defaulted at a very weird rate. Okay, now if I hit play, and it did not work. 1 second. Okay, back. So the issue for that was I had the Rigidbody needs to be on the actual parent. I had these on the child, so I had to delete those and then put it onto here with the Rigidbody. So now if I hit play, it's basically, shatters the game object. Do it again, shatters the game object. Now another thing that you can do is after set while, let's say you wanted to delete the shattered object afterwards. So what you can do is you could do like another script, call it like a timer. And basically just do a timer. You don't need void in here. So basically what we're just going to do is we're going to do a destroy game object to the timer. And the timer is basically what you set in the inspector. So with that set, we just need to go to the prefabs again. And this is what's neat about 2018 is it actually brings you up here. And we're just going to add the component. I'm just going to type in timer, which will bring up my timer script. And I'm going to say after 1.5 seconds, it will delete the game object afterwards. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's test this out. It shatters, 1.5 seconds later, deletes. Try it again, it deletes after 1.5 seconds. Excellent. And you'll notice that with all those, it was starting to lower the frame rate, but then afterwards it delete, it brings it back up. So always make sure you delete this when you're actually doing destroyed objects, like the shattering effect for glass. Now there is another way of going about this that Brackeys actually did that helped me out in a way to understand how he did his. So if you've seen this video, he actually goes about actually doing he does his on a mouse down event. So basically he instantiates destroyed version to the transformed positions, And if you want to learn how to do this, I'll leave the description in below. But what he does in his video is he uses a pre-made assets that already are broken into sections. And what I'm trying to do is show how I went about mine to make mine as a glass effect. Now that actually concludes the tutorial, and if you wanted to see more of what I do, I'll leave my art description page, the link below too, and I have a ton of different things, so you can look at what I have done, like, follow, and ask questions if you like. And in the video that you're seeing, this is actually the finished product of how we're going about our shattered game object. Once it hits a mine, it basically destroys the game object. I have a script that actually will fade the screen, put me into my restart location, and then basically I can start again afterwards. If you like what I do, please like and subscribe. It definitely will help make more videos like this in the future. I do hope this was helpful, and if you need to see that code again for either one, here it is. This is for the timer. You can do it in the start function. And for destroyed, this is the one for the cube. OnTriggerEnter. This is how I'm doing mine for this presentation. Otherwise, thank you again for watching. Take care and have a great rest of your day.